All right, good morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and start. And let's see, Eric Stone said he's about 10 minutes out. But we're going to go ahead and see if we can establish a quorum. We've got four online. So I think between 4 online and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the room, I think we got it. Okay. All right. Good morning. It is 9 o'clock, Wednesday, December 11th. I am calling to order the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. And go ahead and let's establish a quorum formally and some introductions. We'll start with Andy to my left here. Yes, I know I sound lovely. I'm not sick, okay? If I lose my voice, I'll be throwing the meeting to Holly to finish it. That's what happened last night. So. All right.
Very good. Hang in there.
I've had it for weeks. Okay.
Good morning. Andy Gunning, PPACG. Introduction.
Stan Vanderwerf, El Paso County Commissioner.
John Graham, City of Manitou Springs.
Todd Dixon, Mayor, Green Mountain Falls. Jeff Mosier, Special Projects Director for the City of Cripple Creek. Jeff Bond, representing Colonel Clock with SBD 1.
Holly Williams, El Paso County Commissioner.
All right, online we have Mayor Case, Woodland Park.
Good morning. This is Mayor Kelly Case from Woodland Park.
Councilmember Michelle Tallarico, Colorado Springs.
Good morning, Councilmember Michelle Tallarico from Colorado Springs.
Mayor LaKine, Monument.
Good morning, Mayor Mitch LaKine, Town of Monument.
Will, I'm hesitating. Are you mayor or a council member out there?
I am Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem. All right, thank you. And we were just joined by Councilmember Avila from Colorado Springs. So we do have a quorum. All right, thank you very much. And that takes us on item 3, public comments presentation. I'm not going to read that or I'm going to lose my voice. Somebody else want to read it?
Public comments can be made before or during the meeting. Public comments during the meeting is limited to 3 minutes and can be done at the meeting location or remotely by using the posted Monument Microsoft Teams link. Individuals are encouraged to notify the meeting organizer at or before the start of the meeting with the agenda item they would like to comment on. Public comments can be submitted before the meeting via email to ppacg@ppacg.org for distribution to committee members.
Thank you, Commissioner. And do we have anyone in the room that would like to do public comments? Okay, seeing none, do we have anyone online raising their hand? Okay, we'll give them a second to raise their hand since I didn't give Jared any time to say his thing. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to military installation reports. Jeff Bond.
Thank you, Mayor Thompson, and season's greetings to the Board of Directors. Briefly this month, I wanted to let you know that Peterson Space Force Base's North Gate opened up this morning at 6 a.m., just in time for more CDOT interchange construction modifications to the West Gate. So with hope, the traffic flow remains steady and that the businesses in the local area receive some more patronage now that we have daily access through the North Gate. The other item is our Trusted Traveler program at Schriever Peterson was rescinded on December 2nd. What this means is if you're a DoD ID card holder or have normal access to Peterson and Schriever, if you have a non-DoD ID card holder riding with you, they can no longer just show their driver's license and get checked through the gate. You'll have to process them through the visitor center and get a visitor pass. During non-visitor center operations, the gate will handle the processing of the visitor pass. So please plan accordingly if you were coming out to Peterson using your Civic Leader ID or your DoD ID to get through and you're bringing a non-DoD ID card holder. Other than that, it's pretty light on events out at Peterson, Schriever, and Cheyenne Mountain. Not aware of any community engagement, senior leader, civic leader events this month. So pending any questions, that's all I have to report.
All right, I'm glad to see the gate open up. Yeah,
May I ask?
you're not on it. There you go.
Which gate is the visitor's gate? Is that the west?
The west gate is our 24-hour gate, and it is the one that has the visitor center
Thank
off
you.
of Powers and Airport.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. I'm glad that North Gate's open. That's been well needed. And okay, and we have some more people. We've been joined by Councilmember Lynette Crow Iverson from Colorado Springs.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. And then we have some alternates and guests online that are also elected officials. We have alternate Councilmember Duncan, alternate Steve King, and Laura Cronick also online. So good morning to all of you folks. If you want to unmute and say good morning also.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Thank you everybody for hopping in today. And we've just been joined by Commissioner Stone. So thank you for getting here today too. All righty. We are the popular place today. It's nice to be a popular kid for once, huh? All right. Oh, I announced you. I think you were still getting your seat. Yeah, thank you. But if you want to say something, go ahead. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, it will eventually. It eventually goes away, right? I just I'm one of those blessed people that when I get it, I like to hang on to it. All right, Andy.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. A little bit of a bittersweet morning. We're sad in that we're losing two long-term board members. Park County Commissioner Dick Elsner, and I think he may be on his way down here. He said he was going to try to get here in person, weather permitting and good roads. So he may still show up this morning. But also losing El Paso County Commissioner Stan Vanderwerf, and just really, truly appreciate your dedication and support for our organization for the past 8 years. 2 years as chair, you've had just an amazing run with us, and just I can't thank you enough for your support of me personally. I remember it was 7 years ago this month at this board meeting when you guys interviewed, I think, 4 finalists for the executive director position. You were on the initial interview panel. A couple of you were squeezed in the conference room upstairs the month before to vet candidates. So you were there from the very start and just have been incredibly supportive of our organization and of the region as a whole. And it's a difficult balance to strike, advocating for your county while you're also looking out for what's good for the entire region. And you've done that just exceptionally well. So really appreciate your support. We have a small token of appreciation we wanted to send you off with
That's a
as well.
small token.
And can hang on your office at home. But it says, thank you for your dedication to our region on behalf of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. So thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. That's great. Thank you. Love the artwork.
Yeah. Thank you. Would anyone like to make any comments? Just feel free to open your mic and go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Andy, for your words. And Stan, not only have you been a tremendous asset to this board, and I'm sure to the residents of El Paso County, but you've also been a really good friend over the years. And I just wanted to thank you for the time. I know that you're still going to be around, that this is not necessarily a sad parting, but just a parting. And just, again, want to say thank you. Thank you for your friendship, and thank you for all the many years of service.
Thank you, Eric.
Anyone else?
Yes, Madam Chair. Stan, yes, thank you very much. Thanks for your involvement. You've been responsive to things, certainly in Manitou Springs. I think you've had a broad reach. Your involvement in so many activities and organizations in the area, I think, has brought a greater perspective to this board. You brought in insights that the rest of us might not have had because again, your reach and your involvement has been so extensive. So thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, John.
And just a real quick, thank you for your leadership and guidance. As a new member coming in, it was always nice to hear what you had to say about things, and I really appreciated it.
Thank you. Good luck to Green Mountain Falls.
Now, we'll need it.
Okay, anybody online just want to say anything?
Yeah,
wanna
this
say-
is Lynette
Okay.
Crow Iverson, and I have known Stan for 8 years, only been on this board with him for 2. But I've just seen his dedication over the years, and I've just really, really appreciated your leadership, Stan. And when I went on the Front Range Passenger Rail, you gave me a very invaluable book to read, which I did. That just shows your commitment to each board member and to each one of us that serve on different boards and commissions, that you really are a true leader in this community, and we will definitely miss you, but we know you'll be around and be tapping into you. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, Lynette. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Avila?
Thank you, Chair. Stan, so you and I have been on total opposite ends of the spectrum. And given that, I still appreciate the way you just take things on 100%, maybe 110%. You get educated on every area that you're serving. And as a fellow servant, I know that this is about the work and the service that we give to our communities. And there's no doubt that you have given it your all and to the community. And so I thank you very much. It's been up and down. I like to be honest, but I appreciate you and the 8 years that we've been able to work together on this PPACG board.
Thank you, Yolanda. And I actually I'll make one quick point about that. While we may have occasionally had different views about how to solve problems, I think we can clearly state that we've all been interested in doing what we think is best for the community here. So we've had actually a fair number of common goals. We just might have had some differences about how to solve it, but that is a minor thing compared to the overall goal about trying to make our community a better place for our citizens.
That's true, and that's my point.
Thank you.
And I appreciate all your 100% work into every committee, organization, county that you've done.
Thank you. And thank you for your service too, Yolanda.
So I gave a very long verbose set of comments yesterday. So thank you, Stan. There isn't any mountain tall enough that you won't climb except for perhaps Mount Everest. So congratulations.
And I just want you to know that's on the bucket list.
Okay, anybody else online? Stan, thank you so much for your leadership, bringing us up along with you, helping us out anytime you were asked for anything from how to take a photo on your phone. Stan was like, you don't know how to do that. And so, willing to help with anything. I really appreciate it. And anytime somebody says the word modeling, I'm going to just, your little face is going to pop in my brain, because I think we've really, really learned from you, really the importance of that. I mean, we all know it, but just how it really helps the situation. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So,
Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate it.
yeah. And Dick, you're just in time for the roasting. So, I mean, the comments.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have been here sooner, but I have to talk to some counties about how they plow their roads. I think one of them is in Dr. Cog, and I don't know, was Douglas County in Dr. Cog?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so those two. Now, Teller County, I still have a complaint about.
All right. Well, do we want to recognize Dick since he's here?
Absolutely. Commissioner Elsner, we're just recognizing Commissioner Vanderwerf for his last day, but 8 years of service with the PPACG board. And we can't thank you enough. Your advocacy for all the needs in Park County, especially senior needs, but also engaging on state issues like serving on the stack. On behalf of your TPR, just really appreciate all your support for us as an organization, trying to strike that right balance between regional needs, but also advocating for what you need in Park County. We just can't thank you enough for your support of the organization. So thank you, sir. And we've got a small token of appreciation we're going to give you as well.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Do we want to get a photo of them?
Yeah, well, I gotta say a couple of things. I heard Stan
Oh,
say
yeah.
something.
I was just giving them time to get Jared to kind of get the camera ready. So
Yeah,
Yeah, where's the roasting?
We get our turn first and then you get your turn.
okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead, Holly. Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Elsner. It's been a pleasure to work with you through many different things, from our political party affiliation to the Transportation Committee to the Pikes Peak Area Council of Government. You're truly an inspiration to me. And also we work together some at Colorado County, so I appreciate it very much. You're going to be missed. So I hope you have a great retirement, maybe.
Uh, Thank you. It will be sort of a retirement. You know, it's one of those things that once you get started in working in government as an elected official, you really can't ever get away from it, I think, after you're done. I still have a few things to finish off before March that I was committed to, but you know, my biggest thing is I want to thank PPACG with all of the things that PPACG has done for that center of Colorado, dead center of the state, small county called Park. I mean, you take a look at the studies that you guys managed to squeeze in somehow, paid for by money that wasn't ours. But to be able to say that Park County is part of the region and to give us those studies has been just absolutely tremendous. The support for AAA has been, again, tremendous. I know our senior coalition wouldn't be in the place it is today if it hadn't have been for Andy and a couple others saying, you know, we aren't going to give you any money until you replace the people that are running it because they're doing a terrible job. And as a county commissioner, I couldn't replace the people running it because they were doing a terrible job. But having PPACG actually take the heat for it, so then I could push to have it corrected, was tremendous. PPACG has been absolutely great for Park County the last year. I've been so busy doing many things I haven't been able to get here. I've been online most of the time. But I want to thank everybody at PPACG. You are an amazing group of people that really care about the people that live in their communities and really work together. I think the work you've done for Park County displays that, and I want to thank all of you for all of your support for the county. Thank you.
Yes, and I would also like to thank you, Dick, for first of all for your friendship and the partnership that we have here in PPACG, and also for being a stalwart supporter of the citizens of Park County, bringing their issues to this board. That has been very enlightening and helpful to help us make better and more thoughtful decisions. And I also deeply appreciate, you know, when I was chair a couple years back, that we decided we wanted to try to host a few PPACG meetings in Teller and Park, and you hosted it. And to tell you what, that was a really fun meeting in Park because we had several of the nonprofits from Park County come and talk and help illustrate for us some of the issues and challenges and also achievements that Park County has had. And I learned a lot in those meetings. So, Dick, I appreciate your friendship and I look forward. I know that both of us are going to continue to serve somehow, some way. And I look forward to continuing to interact with you on some of those issues. And I imagine that will happen soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments in the room? Yes, Commissioner.
Well, Dick, it's been a long journey, half as long for me than it's been for you. But I just want to thank you so much. When I first came onto the board, I remember the very first meeting. Dick mostly politely said the inside stuff out loud. You may not know what you don't know yet. And he was 100% right. You know, there's a path that we all take in local service where we come in with passion and not a lot of knowledge. And you know, towards the end, hopefully we still have the same passion, but we have a lot more knowledge. And I will say on the knowledge front, you know, that you've forgotten more than most people know about many topics, transportation included. But you've been a good friend, a great partner. a lot of efforts that we fought together and fought for and worked on, and just really appreciate you so much. And whatever you're doing next, I know you're going to be successful doing it because you always have.
Well, I hope I'm successful fishing. One of the things I am planning on lobbying the legislature to do is change the swearing in date for county commissioners to June, because then I could say, okay, I'm done and I can go out and fish. Right now, I'm afraid that my flies sitting on top of the ice would be very ineffective.
Any other comments in the room? Yolanda?
Thank you, Chair. And I think, Dick, you're another one that I've been with for these past 8 years. And I've found you to be pretty even keel, bringing up really important issues when they needed to be brought. And I think that I think we could always count on you for a motion and to second a lot, because sometimes it would just get really quiet. And between you and Mayor Graham, we made sure that we kept moving along. So appreciate that. It's just been good serving with you in the last 8 years. There's ice fishing. Anyway, wish you the best.
Ice fishing is cold.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dick, when I first joined the board here, I remember you had some really insightful comments that you made. And I thought to myself, this is great tribal knowledge. There's a lot that I can learn here. And so I looked to that, and I think we all benefited from both your service and your common sense and your perspective. There's times when I'm driving through South Park and I think about how huge that county is. And I think you should probably, seems to me like it'd be fair if the county would buy you a new set of tires every year. Maybe they do. I suspect they don't. But that is so huge. And the kinds of problems that you face are different than a lot of us who are here in the urban area. I think that you brought a balance to this board. And I think that's done service not only to the people in your rural county, but also to the cohesiveness of our mission here. So thank you very much. Keep your wizard cap on. Don't stray too far. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room?
Go Cats.
All right, anybody online that would like to comment, please go ahead and just unmute.
Good morning. This is Mayor Case, and I just wanted to say that I don't know or haven't gotten to know Dick very well, and Elsner, and Stan and I have had the opportunity to be in person with each other many times, but with my short service at this point on the board, I'm sorry that I won't get to know you better and to learn more from each of you, as everyone else has that has been there for so long. But I just want to say it's been a pleasure to serve with both of you, and just want to wish you the best and thank you for your service.
Thank you. Anyone else online? Dick, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be on the board with you this whole time. And I always enjoy your sense of humor and just a common sense, cut through the issues with some common sense. I have learned more about Park County and the issues. I had no idea how long you had to drive to deliver food to some people, and just your unique circumstances up there. You've represented your community very, very well. I hope they appreciate you. And I'm sure you, like you said, you got stuff to do up there and finish up. But you've left your community, like all of us hope to do. I firmly believe you left your community in a better place than when you came in. So thank you very much. I'm sorry?
Is Jared available to do picture?
Oh, yeah. I just was trying to make sure we're through all the comments here. So, all right, gentlemen, come on down if you want to bring your pick your awards with you, and we'll get a picture with Andy. Oh, okay. There you go. All right. That works. All right.
Cool.
That one's for Commissioner Brimmer. We weren't sure if she was going to be here today, but want to be prepared.
Good. How you doing? broken down. It was fine below. Yes, for sure. So, much more part of that, I'll hold you. Ready, 3, 2, 1. And hopefully one of them will open. All right. Folks think they.
Are you done with the farewell stuff?
Yes, I think we're done.
Okay, want to make sure there wasn't a staff member we were saying goodbye to. Okay. All right, that takes us on to item 4, consent items. These items will be acted on a whole unless they're called up for discussion by a board member or citizen wishing to address the board. We have consent items A, B, C, and D. What would the board like to do?
Mayor Dixon, I'll move we approve the consent items.
Mayor
Take a
Bramwell.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further deliberation? And if whoever's taking notes, you figured out. Everybody seconded. How's that? All right. All right, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, consent passes. That takes us on to item 5A, action items. Older Americans Act reauthorization. Mr. Barker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Board of Directors. Jody Barker, your Area Agency on Aging Director. I just wanted to bring this item before you because Senate Bill 4776, which is the Older Americans Act Reauthorization Act of 2024, is right now pending in the U.S. Senate. We've done a lot of work at the state and national level to provide information to our national advocates as well as to the Senate and to the House. It is expected to pass by unanimous consent as a non-controversial legislation. There are multiple sponsors representing both parties. There's been a lot of work between the Senate and the House staff members. And what our hope and what I'm asking today is effectively your permission to advocate at the national level to push this or encourage this reauthorization to happen. The current 5-year authorization expired at the end of this just passed federal fiscal year in September 30th, and so we don't. The Pikes Peak Council of Governments doesn't have a federal advocacy document like we do with the state, and so I'm asking your approval so that I can continue to advocate for this reauthorization. Our hope is that it will go through this unanimous consent process in both the Senate and the House before this 118th Congress dismisses for the holidays. With the new administration, with all the changes that we're hearing about and that we're expecting, unfortunately, all the work that has been done by both the Senate and House staff members as well as national advocates will effectively have to start over in the new administration, and we'd really like to try to get this wrapped up. So just asking for your approval to continue moving forward. It's part of my job in working with our legislators to share the needs of our communities as well as across the United States and ensure that authorization and funding continue smoothly. So any questions?
Madam Chair, if I can just add one item to Jody's report. I think specifically one area that really would help is if we could maybe draft a letter and submit it to Representative Lamborn and also Representative Pedersen, represents part of our region as well. And really urge their support of a critical piece of federal legislation that funds a lot of our AAA operations, both internally and with our service providers across the region. But yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, it gets through the Senate without any major issues. It really can't have issues because it's got to pass by unanimous consent. But where the fight might be a little bit tougher is on the House side. So if we can encourage Representative Lamborn especially to be okay with our advocacy, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, my suggestion was going to be that when we make the motion, we just do it for PPACG in general, so that we don't limit it to Jody or to us, because there may be other members we may need to get, like I was going to say, write a letter or something. So there is a proposed motion on the back. So thank you, Commissioner,
Yes,
and then
thank
Commissioner.
in reading the words that's here, Jody, I appreciate it. But because we don't have a federal themes and priorities document, it might be worthwhile to consider the development of that as well.
That was brought up at the legislative meeting last week, that the legislative committee take that on next year to come up with a federal themes document like we have for the state. So, yeah.
Okay, great. So is that on the docket then to do? And then I'm just asking, do they have did they self?
Well, we just kind of had it in the conversation during the
Okay.
meeting, so it hasn't had a chance to get to the agenda yet.
So it's not on is that on the agenda or not on the agenda?
For us today, no.
Yeah.
For the legislative committee, I'm assuming it will be Todd or Eric.
Okay. So that will be discussed then, and then possibly brought to this board for consideration. So the ask for today is authority to go to our delegation on this particular act. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Both
And
in person and by.
I don't know what the timing will need to be, but it might not be Congressman Lamborn. It might be Congressman Crank.
I believe it needs to be done by the end of this year.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I move that we support. Oh, I was going to get the motion.
Okay, we'll
Good,
save
good
the
try,
motion.
Holly.
We'll save the motion for, okay.
Okay, let me make my comment first then. We're all getting older. It just doesn't stop. Thanks.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's really important that we act very quickly. As at the Academy, I don't know, nomination meeting committee thing in Denver on Saturday, and Senator Hickenlooper stopped by for lunch. So I had I don't know, about 10 or 15 minutes I could talk to him about things like this. And he said, his biggest concern is the farm bill, which is important to all of us because it's got all of the SNAP and all of the food support money in it that was negotiated. He doesn't think it's going to get passed. And he's really concerned about what goes on when we have the new Congress sworn in. So I think this is something that we need to push really hard to try to get them to take action before we have the new set, because his feeling was that any spending is going to be put on hold while they figure out what they want to do. And this is money that, okay, we're running out. We're going to have it reauthorized. So I would fully support that letter. And Holly will make the motion to do that, and I will second her motion. So I don't want to take her motion away.
Do we have any additional comments from somebody reserving the motion for Commissioner Williams? Anybody online have any comments? Anybody in the room? Your mic is still on. Did you have something else? Okay. Commissioner Williams.
Okay, I move that we support Senate Bill 4776 and authorize the Pikes Peak Area Council of Government staff to engage with our federal legislator on this bill. Legislators, Brittany and Senator Hickenlooper and Congressman Lamborn and Senator Bennett.
Yeah, offer a friendly amendment.
You may offer any amendment you want.
You said staff. I would just do PPACG in general in case any of us representing PPACG choose to get involved.
PPACG.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor for the motion as amended. And do we have any further deliberation? Councilmember Avila.
I just want to say it's Congresswoman Patterson.
I'm sorry.
Everybody got called by their title except for
I know.
Congresswoman Patterson.
And I was just thinking, man, I need to reach out to my husband for Brittany's phone number. Before we vote, I would also like to recommend that maybe Commissioner Vanderwerf, if you have time to speak with Ryan today and reach out to our national lobbyist. They're very good. And so we could have them contact Congresswoman Pedersen as well as the men.
I was thinking in my mind Representative Pedersen, so I was still on her previous, or was she senator when she was for the state? So my mind was on the previous title.
Yeah.
So thank you. All righty. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And thank you for bringing it to our attention, Jody. Appreciate it. Especially after we just had a celebration of the 50th anniversary of this and how minute it started it's amazing where it is now. So thank you. All right, that takes us on to item 6, information items. First up is long range transportation plan, Danelle Miller. And Danelle, I think I can congratulate you on having the largest print off that I've ever gotten from any plan.
And it will be a little bit longer next month, just
Ooh.
so you're aware. Thank you all for having me this morning. As you all know, we've been working very hard on the long-range transportation plan for the region for about the past 2.5+ years, and also working in conjunction with Mountain Metro Transit to put together the regional transit plan and the specialized transportation plan as well. All of these, a draft of all of these are in your packet today. But we also have a shorter little presentation here just of some of the highlights of those of the LRTP. And then we'll talk about the next steps at the end here. So this is a slide of our schedule. You've already seen this before, but we wanted to just point out where we are in the process. We have just actually submitted our greenhouse gas modeling to the state, to CDPHE. We're on the Transportation Commission agenda to do a workshop actually next week, I believe, next week. And then, of course, the draft document, as I mentioned, is in your packet. After this, we plan to bring this back to you all next month, hopefully to get permission to release for public comment. Our intent would be to release that document for a 30-day public comment period around the 10th of January, and then that would span into the beginning of February there. We do have an expiration on our current long-range transportation plan of the end of January. So we're working very hard to try to mitigate the amount of time where we're in, where we have a non-conforming plan, because that does impact the ability to have TIP amendments in the region, which we have been working with our TAC members to get all of those processed now, so that if we do have a little bit of a lull there, nobody is stuck without the ability to do those. Slide, please. This is just a slide that talks about the contents and the organization of the long-range transportation plan. We have some introduction and some process and engagement chapters. We have a system performance chapter that talks about all of our performance metrics and how our system is doing. We have a chapter that talks about what is actually included in PPACG's transportation network, because that's a little bit different than all of the roadways, all of the sidewalks, all of the pieces that might be included in each individual jurisdiction's network. And that also gives a little bit of the existing conditions, information, congestion, things like that. We talk about planning consideration. That includes things like public health impacts of transportation. It looks at safety, security. We talk quite a bit about the military impact, knowing that those military installations are very vital to our transportation network and our community. Then we go into a regional forecast, the financial plan, which was already adopted by the board last year. We've made a few small additions to that, but primarily that's the same. And then finally, the implementation plan, which includes, of course, the fiscally constrained project list, and then the appendices, and that's where that full regional transit plan and that specialized plan live. Slide, please. This is just a quick overview of what's included in the transportation network. We want to make sure that everyone is aware this is kind of a holistic look. So it includes roads and transit, but also we've pulled in some pieces of active transportation. We've pulled in some pieces from freight and from rail as well. And then again, that's a list of some of the considerations, safety, security, military. We had a federal lands workshop with our FHWA partners here earlier this summer. That will be in the document. Some considerations regarding the environment and how projects have to fulfill those federal requirements, public health, equity, and also emerging technology. We want to make sure that the document talks about parts of the transportation system that could be impacted by technology that we may not know now, but just trying to cover things that could be in the next 25 years. Slide, please. This is a high-level look at our regional forecast. What we're projecting for the region is just over 1 million people in 2050, 507,000 jobs, and a little over 400,000 occupied housing units. And on the left, we have a map of the projected population by transportation analysis zone in 2050. It's a little hard to read, both on a slide and at this scale, but it is included in Chapter 6 of the Long Range Transportation Plan, along with all of the dialogue to go with it and additional maps and graphics. Slide, please. And this is a slide on the implementation plan. Basically, the bottom line of the project of the plan. It includes about $5.5 billion worth of projects, 234 projects in total. And there's a breakdown of basically for tracking purposes and for mapping purposes. We assigned every project up to 2 project types based on their primary and secondary characteristics. And overall, we have about 105 roadway projects broken into different roadway categories. We have 79 projects that are pedestrian, bicycle, or multimodal. We have 63 that are safety. 32, I believe, are intersection improvements or interchanges. 23 bridge projects, and then some other assorted categories, studies and plans. The transit projects actually in the LRTP, I should mention, there's 19. However, some of those are pools and are actually broken down into greater detail in the transit plan. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. Just it looks like a smaller number than it could actually be. And I believe that's the last slide I have in here today. However, as I said, the full draft is in your packet. We will be coming back next month to hopefully get a release for public comment. We'll also be doing a workshop after next month's board meeting. But happy to take any questions you might have today, or in the meantime, if you have any questions, happy to talk with you as well.
Okay, any questions from any board members?
Or something.
Yes, go ahead.
So I'd like to introduce you all to my boyfriend, Victor. And Victor is Cheryl, who works here. And she graciously downloads all these documents for me on this. And it's great because I can rewind it, I can fast forward it, I can make it spell a word. So it's really accommodates me. And not a couple of nights ago, I put this in my reader. I couldn't sleep. And so I started to listen to this presentation, which was really long. And I did fall asleep dreaming that my brother was talking to me about this long range plan. And I was like, why are you talking to me like this? I want to know how the kids are doing. And I was like, okay, I know you're smart and you know all this stuff. And then in this dream, I kept running into people that were talking to me like that. And so I just thought I told my aide about it. I was like, it was a crazy dream. And then I woke up and it was because I was still listening to this presentation. So, but I wanted to get kudos to Cheryl, who does this for me every meeting, and she has to she does extra time on this, and she does a really nice job at doing this. So that's I try to get away from it. I thought I was going to fall asleep, but it followed me in my dreams.
Yolanda,
I apologize for
highly
that.
doubt you're the first person that this is put to sleep. Some of us just do it in a different way.
Madam Chair, I'll pass that along to Cheryl. Cheryl's not here today. She's under the weather, so I will definitely let her know. So I appreciate you sharing that, council member. And Victor may still be reading to you because this is what, 530 pages? So
It is.
you might want to
Yeah.
hit pause. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say hats off to Cheryl for putting all this off for me. I really appreciate it. But please don't print it again next month. I will save this because that's a lot of paper and ink. So thank you. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, the great document, an enormous amount of work in it. And to be fair, I haven't had an opportunity to go through it in detail, and I will not have an opportunity to comment further on it going forward as a board member, at least. But, coming to this concept of what should our 2050 infrastructure look like if we're going to have 1 million people living in the region? Is there something in here that has an objective model, or is there a goal to get to what the objective model would look like? And you could play a few scenarios out in that, like a model that might have a limited amount of public transportation, and then another model that might have a more extensive amount of public transportation. Because when you get that right down to it, if we're going to go from 750,000 to 1 million, there's no way to cut that except for having more lanes.
Mhm.
To have more buses, you need more lanes. To have more carpooling, you need more lanes. To just have people driving to work, you need more lanes. And so, do we have an idea about what our roads are going to need to look like? And, I have my own personal views about that, but don't necessarily want to interject that. But do we have an objective outcome coming out of this?
So I will say our modeling team worked very hard with all of the individual jurisdictions, particularly on how the roads are all going to look, but also quite substantially on how land use is figured out for the future. In the past, our previous plan used a little bit of a black box method, kind of a software program, kind of projected things for us. And in this case, instead of doing that, what our team has done is pulled people from each of the jurisdictions, and in some cases, even different folks within the jurisdiction. For example, at Colorado Springs, we had not just the Springs, but also Colorado Springs utilities, and had some workshops about where is your growth going to look at. We looked at actual development plans, entitlements, all of that kind of thing, and use that to build out the land use. So it represents what we believe is a much better, much more realistic land use than we have had previously. So I think that helps us provide, or helped us create a more realistic model going forward. We did not get into scenario planning specifically for this LRTP, in part because of all of the stuff we had to do to figure out the greenhouse gas modeling requirements for the state. At this point, all of our numbers have come back from CDPHE as clearing those greenhouse gas requirements or targets. So hopefully everything will go smoothly with the Transportation Commission. But a lot of that change is due in large part to the more realistic land use projections. I know that doesn't fully answer your question. I know that we didn't do necessarily scenarios as a way to look at different transportation options. But that's kind of what we had to do to get through the some of the state hurdles at this point.
Yeah, if I could follow up, I mean, I appreciate, I'm not going to sit here and say this would be easy to figure out what our transportation infrastructure is going to look like 30 years from now. I don't think it will be easy. But I do think that we can model a couple of scenarios. And I know I'm using the word modeling again, but seriously, I think it would be really important because let's say, for example, just to make a few concepts up here, let's say if we could run some kind of a model that has 70% of the vehicles being non-polluting when they're driving on the roadway at some point, or maybe it's 40% by 2050. I mean, you could pick a couple of larger divergences and kind of see what that needs to mean, because just to make it up, if you get to a 70%, you might be able to not have a greenhouse gas interaction issue and allow you to build more infrastructure, right? That kind of thing. And my concern is, it feels to me like we should try to model a couple of scenarios with a couple of concepts of what might be possible down the road. Because with that capacity or that ability, then we could maybe go back to CDOT and say, hey, not only do you have a lot of congestion on I-25 now, but it's going to get a lot worse. So we need you to be thinking about more lanes or, semicircle around eastern Colorado Springs, or maybe two of them to be quite honest. And there's a couple of things that we could start recommending as a PPACG with regard to what the infrastructure is going to need to look like so that we can accommodate 1 million people, knowing that some of these other considerations are not that well known where they're going to play out.
Sure.
And, another interaction will be, we don't really know where technology is going to take us either, but we can guesstimate maybe on a couple of those. And I think no matter what we end up with, there's going to be either a really big amount of infrastructure needed or at least some amount of infrastructure needed. And today is kind of the beginning to start planning for 30 years from now so that we've got a vision about what it needs to look like. So I don't know if we can get there or not, but it's kind of maybe my parting comments to what this long-range infrastructure plan might need to look like going forward so that we can have effective planning and really end up with an infrastructure that's going to support all of us.
Sure. I will say that as far as the projects go, all of the actual projects in the plan were submitted by our jurisdictions or were provided by CDOT from the list that was vetted by this board primarily. Because all of our jurisdictions have their own individual planning processes, and we as PPACG don't really have the authority over jurisdictions to dictate projects or to actually construct projects. We do pull very heavily from those individual plans and components to compile what goes in the LRTP. However, I will chat with our team and with our leadership to see what might be possible for the future and what might make sense with our TAC.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that just means for me anyway, couple 2 or 3 objective models based on some criteria about, going a little further this direction or going less further that direction, and then offer it back to the members and get an understanding. And whether that has to necessarily be in here, but it could just be something that we do going forward. It's probably, I think, going to be pretty important, because to grow another 250,000 in an area that, I mean, in some cases, the state is, I think, planning on restricting the building of lanes. And I think that could be a real issue for us. We'll just go from congestion to more congestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I wrote down a few comments. I think in your population estimates, we have to consider in the next 25 years, people who drive to Denver, people who might ride a railroad to Denver. I hope in 25 years it's done. People who work from home, thanks to COVID. There's a whole new work group. People who drive here from Pueblo, because there's a whole group of people who drive from Pueblo who cannot afford to live in El Paso County. Many of our employees can't afford to live here. I think as far as the money, so I think the rail was interesting. I will say in this past month, I met a person who would love to have bus service from his house on Woodman Road to Academy and Circle, or Circle and Fillmore, where he works. Instead, of course, as Yolanda knows, he would have to go all the way down to Chapel Hills Mall, go downtown, and it was just too much to get back to where he wanted to go. So I do think that there is a capacity for an expansion of our local bus service, as big as we're going to be. But the interesting thing I think is on the revenue sources. Obviously, this governor right now wants to push for his Front Range Rail project in 2026, and that's okay. That's his choice. My approach has been, if I see candidates who are saying they're running for governor, such as Attorney General Phil Weiser, or Congressman Joe Neguse, or Congressman Jason Crow, or whoever the Congressman of the Week is who's thinking of running, and any of the Republican candidates as well, I asked them, what are you going to do to reduce congestion? Because the current Transportation Commission took that out of their policy directive. And then the other thing I found out was really fascinating, and I think Tabor exists to put things on the ballot. I don't necessarily believe it exists for the state legislature to put something in an enterprise, but a lot of the stuff that funds us is our faster fees. The faster fees are Tabor impacted. So our faster fees have been going up. Guess what's going to get cut with the budget cuts at the state this year? The faster fees. And so that's something that I think in this case, it would be very worthwhile for the legislature to consider putting the faster fund into an enterprise. Because if you take it off the general fund, then it's not Tabor impacted. And that's a good source of revenue that comes to us. And so that's what I would encourage the legislative committee to look at, is to how to do that, because we've got all these other enterprise funds that frankly, I think we have to wait at least 5 years to see how they're producing before we consider a ballot issue or something for a separate tax for roads, because you've got the 5 enterprise funds. So that's my opinion, and I still feel like after 6 years, I've got so much more to learn. So thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone online today from the board who has a question or comment? Okay, seeing done, back into the room. Any other questions or comments from board members? I do have a question. A few weeks ago, the governor came out with his Colorado Transportation Vision 2035. If you haven't printed this off and read it, I'd highly encourage you to do that. I know I had Andy send out a link to everyone with this in it. You might want to send it out again. It gets lost in our emails. This pretty much kind of lays out what he's going to be pushing, and I think what he's going to push the legislature to. I saw a lot of bills potentially coming out of this session. Have you had time to look at this? Because I don't want to ask you a question that's going to set you up for failure, but have you had time to read?
Only a little bit,
Okay,
honestly.
so my question for the next meeting
Mhm.
is, how is this going to potentially affect this? Because I think some stuff in here could, right? So, are we going to adopt a plan that's going to not get the funding we want because he's pushing something different? I don't know. It's a really loaded question, so don't feel like you have to answer it today, because, but I think it's, what, I don't know. Andy, you're looking like you want to say.
No, I was going to say, I don't think we know the answer. We've been scratching our heads too since that came out and just not quite sure of the genesis of it. John, you look like you want to jump up and say something. I know with our draft plan, it does include a significant amount of additional transit investment. I mean, that's been a goal of the state, and working with MMT and our local jurisdictions, our plan does reflect that. But this document, this vision was a little bit of a head scratcher, quite honestly, and I think we're still trying to get our minds around the relationship with our planning effort too.
Just a second.
So
Yes.
just real quickly, so the plan goes out to 2050, so it's got 25 years worth of funds and projects, right? But we're going to do a new one in 5 years. So anything that sort of comes out of this, we should still be able to move forward with. So if it provides new funds and new opportunities, we can tap in to those projects. Again, we have 25 years worth of projects that were, and how many of that will we actually get done in the next 5 years? So if there's just a ton of money starts rolling in, instead of getting those 5 years worth of projects done in the next 5 years, maybe we get 6, maybe we get 7. So it should not impact us, knock wood, but again, I don't have a crystal ball to say how the legislature would come back and put in any sort of legislation. But that being said, as far as the rules of engagement as they are today, we are setting ourselves up for success with this plan. So we should be fine. But again, that plan has a majority of the things that they want to accomplish in their goals come back to the cities, towns, and counties, right? The four sort of goals are not necessarily things that the state would build, such as transit lines and sidewalks, et cetera. So I think we have all of those in there, and Danelle and the team has done a great job of having pools of funds. So we've written this document such a way we have the flexibility to pivot to wherever the funds are coming from at the state or the federal level, and make sure that our jurisdictions can go after whatever they want to go after, and we support them for that.
Good answer. All right, thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate actually you bringing that up. I haven't had a chance to review that document either. But I will make the point that we are a big region with a lot of people. We should be thinking about ourselves as being having our own economic power and political power. I've said this when I was chair of BOCC, that we need to be thinking big. What we really ought to be doing is building our own objective plans and then trying to encourage the governor to support what we think our design needs to be, as opposed to him building a plan and him trying to tell us what our plan needs to be. I really think we need to design our own objective plan and then try to get it incorporated into everybody else's plan instead of having the other way, having it happen the other way. So I'll just encourage you all going forward, after I depart from this board, to think big and work objectively to get our needs and interests incorporated into everybody else's plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any last questions? Because this is not an action item. It's Councilmember Avila.
I don't have a question. Danielle, this took a lot of work. I know it did. And so I thank you for putting it all together in a way that we can read it and comment on it. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah, you're correct on that incredible amount of work. So thank you.
It's been a long standing team effort. So.
All right. I'm not seeing any more questions or comments. So thank you so much. It's almost insulting to spend such a minimal amount of time on such a thick item. So did you have anything else, Danelle?
Just a quick reminder, Danelle mentioned this, but we're planning on scheduling a workshop after the board meeting in January to take a deeper dive and go through section by section and some of the key findings that are in here. So we'll be sure to save some time in January.
Well, I will let your new chair know that.
We will also have our consultant from the transit and specialized plans here as well for that.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Danelle, so very, very much. And are you up for the next item?
I am here to do an introduction at least.
Okay. CDOT infrastructure condition and system performance target setting. Always a highlight of our year.
So I believe we had the safety targets, the annual safety targets here last month from CDOT. And today we have the infrastructure condition and system performance measures overlook. And Jake Kirshner from CDOT is online to provide this presentation to us. And again, we will bring this back as an action item in a future month. And staff is recommending that we continue to support the state's targets for these performance measures.
Thank you. Welcome, Jacob. Please take off and let's go.
All right. Thanks for the introduction, Danelle. Good morning. My name is Jacob Kirschner, and I'm the Performance Program Manager at the Colorado Department of Transportation. Today, I'll be discussing our national performance measures with a focus on the mid-performance period report. We'll review our current 4-year targets, and I will be recommending a key adjustment to the 2025 target for bridges in good condition to better align with the progress we've made so far. Next slide, please. Before diving into the details, I would like to provide a quick background on the national performance measures. The 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act requires each state to set targets for transportation performance and to report on progress. State DOTs and MPOs establish data-driven 2- and 4-year targets for safety, infrastructure condition, and system performance. CDOT set its targets for 2023 and 2025 back in October of 2022. We are now in the middle of our performance period review, which did allow us the opportunity to reassess and adjust those targets based on current data. In September, we worked closely with subject matter experts to update and recommend adjustments to the targets, which we did submit to FHWA on October 1st, 2024. Next slide, please. This slide outlines the role of MPO responsibilities. MPOs have 2 choices when they're establishing targets. They can either adopt the state targets or establish their own. MPOs have 180 days from the date when the state DOT establishes its performance targets to either adopt those targets or establish their own. For this cycle, the deadline will be March 30th, 2025. Collaboration with CDOT and regional partners is key to making sure targets are consistent across the board. This coordination is critical to making sure that both statewide and regional transportation systems are moving towards the same outcomes. In 2022, Pikes Peak did support CDOT's targets for infrastructure condition, and today we'll be recommending a slight adjustment for bridges in good condition. In the following slides, I'll cover the current 4-year targets and why we're recommending adjustment to bridges in good condition target. Next slide, please. Here we look at the specific targets under review. CDOT established several targets covering pavement, bridges, and system reliability. For the 2025 target for bridges in good condition, we are recommending adjusting the target from 36% to 38.5% based on updated data. All the other targets, such as those for the interstate and non-interstate pavement and system reliability, will remain the same. This adjustment is supported by our latest performance data and reflects FHWA guidance to establish data-driven targets. Next slide, please. Here we focus on the proposed adjustment for the targets regarding bridges in good condition. When we set the original target of 36% in 2022, it was based on the best available data at the time. However, since then, we have seen a positive trend in bridge conditions, allowing us to confidently raise the target to 38.5%. This recommendation is based on forecasts from our asset investment management system model, which uses detailed infrastructure data and projections to help us guide our decisions. It is important to note that while we are adjusting the good condition target for bridges, we will not be adjusting the bridges in poor condition target. That will remain at 4%. Next slide, please. Finally, on this slide, we have 2 graphs here that illustrate the condition of bridges across Colorado's national highway system. On the left, we have statewide performance, and on the right, we have performance specific to the Pikes Peak boundary. Focusing on the statewide side first, we have seen a decline in the percentage of bridges in good condition. This is primarily due to an aging inventory of midlife and older bridges. However, through targeted investments and preventative maintenance, we have been able to keep the number of bridges in poor condition below 4%. Moving forward, we expect to see a gradual improvement in the number of bridges in good condition, which is why we are proposing that new target of 38.5%. On the right side, focusing on the Pikes Peak area, bridge conditions have been closely aligned with the statewide trends. Once again, this reflects our life cycle planning, preserving good and fair bridges while addressing poor bridges. Bridges in poor condition for Pikes Peak area remain at a low level, highlighting effective maintenance efforts. To conclude, We are asking for the Pikes Peak Board of Directors' support in adopting the state's adjusted target for bridges in good condition. This will ensure that the regions align with CDOT's broader performance goals, which in turn supports Colorado's infrastructure needs. The Pikes Peak Board of Directors would need to take action through a formal resolution, and we encourage you to support this adjustment. Thank you for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions or comments you may have.
Okay, thank you. Just to clarify, this is on as an information item, right? So the resolution he's asking for would come back the next meeting. Is that still within the 180-day period that we're good on?
It is, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Any questions or comments? Yes, Mayor.
Mayor Dixon, is there another category for these bridges? Because the percentages don't seem to be adding up in my mind. We go on the Pikes Peak area council government size from roughly 51% in good and about 2.87% in poor to 36% roughly in good, 2.72% in poor. It looks like there's a category of bridges that are missing.
Yes, that's correct. And so there is a fair category, which is missing. And that kind of goes back to what I was mentioning. We have seen a decline in the percentage of bridges in good condition. A lot of the bridges in the state are aging. And so part of our life cycle planning preserves good and fair bridges, primarily fair bridges, making sure they don't fall down to that poor category. That's where they're going to require costly improvements at the poor category. So a lot of our life cycle planning, make sure we preserve bridges in fair condition, which is that missing category on that graph there.
Thank you.
Okay, good question. Thank you. Anybody else or anyone online? Okay, thank you very much. So we will see that back again with the resolution in January.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Danelle.
Thank you,
Jacob. Okay, that takes us on to item C, Regional Priorities Program, FY 2029, Jess Fetchel.
Yes, good morning, Jess Bechtel. I'm the tip planner here at PACG. And so this is just an informational item, update about the Regional Priority Program funds. And so the RPP is the flexible funding source that's allocated by the CDOT Region 2 Director, and that's done in consultation with you guys, the board. And so this is just an update about the 10-year project list and how they are spreading those allocations. I believe Rob Fry from CDOT can give you the details, so I'm going to kick it off to him.
Good morning, Rob.
Good morning. I'm Rob Fry, CDOT Region 2 Planning Environmental Manager. So today, just presenting our RPP program for the Pikes Peak MPO area. In front of you, I don't know if you can go to the next slide or not. It should have been rotated. They're perfect. Thank you. So we're looking at adding year 4 of the RP funding. So year 4 for us would be FY 29. So FY 26 and 27 and 28 have already been approved in the past. So this is just adding that extra year as our planning process moves forward. As you can see in FY 29, we do not have any money identified for the Pikes Peak area. The reason for that is simply trying to manage the available funding across our other four planning areas in Region 2, but we do keep track of a 10-year rolling average of the allocation for this program. So as mentioned in the memo, our 10-year rolling average right now stands at about 39.4%, and our targeted goal is at 40.9%. So we're not quite there, but we're pretty close over that 10-year rolling average. So with that, I don't have any projects to discuss because we're not looking at identifying any funding in FY 29. But with that, I will take questions.
FY 23.
Just more of a comment. This is so tiny. Even printed out, this is so tiny. If there's a better way to present this next meeting rather than in this graph,
okay,
I would encourage.
Yeah, we will certainly look at doing something a lot better than that.
I'm like, it took me half your presentation to even figure out what row was 2029.
All right.
So,
yeah, we'll take another look at that. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Williams, yes, she's over here trying to do the same thing.
You know, that's my exact same question. I don't know if we could blow this up and put it on a big diagram in the back so that we can stop by and read it. My question is are any new projects starting in 2025? Or are we just continuing on projects?
I'd have to look. My eyes aren't that good either. It's not,
Remember when we had the TVs in the middle of the room, Andy?
No, I don't want those again. No, I couldn't see those though.
It'd be the same size, but 15 feet away.
I just think there's a
Okay.
different way we can lay it out, maybe
So,
not have to have.
If the yellow column is 2025, we have Palm Lake maintenance, rehabilitation, mobility and safety improvements, public mobility safety improvements, and Woodland Park reliever route study. If I'm reading those right. And I don't know what milepost 311, 350 mobility safety improvements are. Do you?
I believe that's a surface treatment project, safety.
What was the points again?
311, 350.
That one I'm not sure. I mean, if we're looking at calendar year 2025 construction, is that, or are you thinking more like the fiscal year? Because we've got two main projects starting for construction in 2025. Colorado 115 resurfacing Nelson Boulevard to Brookside. So we've got a successful contractor select on that one. And then Colorado 67D, the reconstruction portion in Woodland Park is going to be going out there. It's out to ad currently. We're looking to open bids on December 19th.
Okay, that's helpful to be able to put. I love how you guys can talk about mileposts, but I prefer actual names because then I can picture it. I don't have milepost numbers memorized. Sorry.
Yeah, I think a lot of these are placeholders for future projects yet to be determined exactly what that scope will be.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions besides the size of the graph? Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. And first of all, I just want to continue to express my appreciation and support from CDOT for all the construction. I mean, the only downside is there's so much construction between city and county and CDOT that sometimes it does get hard to get around town, but it's great to have that work being done. Having said that, we have the big project. Is it called the MAMSIP project? The one that's around Fountain on I-25?
Yeah.
And I know you guys have invested a lot of money in that. And I know that there were safety improvements, but I just remain a little bit concerned about why there was not an extra lane added. It just seems like when we kind of get to that scale of investment that, adding lanes in some areas that sometime down the road, right? For example, what we've been talking about earlier this morning, going to a community of 1 million people, there's going to be a lot of growth in Fountain, and an extra lane there could have, in my humble opinion, it'll be needed at some point. So I'm just asking why we didn't do that at this point.
That's probably out of his scope of today's
Yeah.
presentation, but the widened lane, the widened shoulder, thank you, that were put in are really wide enough to turn into a lane eventually. But there just wasn't enough funding. I guess that's a bottom line. But I'll tell you though, that paid off this week, that wide shoulder, because during that ice storm, we had a semi with a load of steel go. Normally in the old days before this improvements, that thing would have gone. He crossed all the lanes, and because of what they did with the varying heights and the ditch and stuff, it stopped him from going across to the southbound lanes. He landed in the ditch, and those wide lane shoulders enabled them to get the traffic flowing around that accident. Otherwise, 5 years ago, that freeway would have been shut down for probably 6 or 8 hours. So it has paid off, but I do understand. We were fighting for 3 lanes.
Yeah.
And they came back and just said there wasn't
And I know that
funding.
the wide shoulders and so forth are definitely helpful for
Yeah.
safety considerations and so forth. But then we still do have accidents and still have closures of highways, even with all the construction to add those wide lanes. So it just seems inevitable to me that one of those wide shoulders is going to have to be turned into a lane. So that's the question I've got.
Yeah, that high level, I think there wasn't enough money for one. Two, we did have to reduce scope in order to get that project awarded. We did take into consideration adding those widened shoulders for future use for a third lane down the road. So we did take all those things into consideration in order to limit throwaway in the future. So we took a look at moving traffic over onto those shoulders when we're developing them. And then instead of ripping those shoulders back out, we left them in place. So we are taking that into consideration for the future.
And one of the main things, issues on I-25, and you're aware of this, is that train track over by World Arena. Until that train track is changed, removed, that was the hope with starting the project, the rail yard project down in Fountain, was for Fort Carson to get a spur down there. And then we could remove that train track or repair it and then widen it to 3 lanes from Colorado Springs. But until that's done, we're pretty much stuck with the Colorado Springs, and now that becomes a pinch point also. So it's a big rolling many-year project that I know way more about than I want to. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Question for you is I'm looking at the blown up graph here. So the reliever route study, it shows planned funds for 2025, but nothing budgeted. Obviously, 2025 is around the corner. If it's not budgeted, is that primarily telling us it's not going to happen, or?
No, a little bit of history on that. When that got put onto the list, Woodland Park or Teller County is supposed to come up with about 20% match on that project, and we're still waiting for that. So if that's available, we can certainly start moving forward. So we're just waiting for Teller County or Woodland Park. Not exactly sure who's leading that.
Okay, because I know 2 years ago, the county authorized at least a portion of the match. And I believe we already sent the check, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll check. I don't know if Mayor Case knows what the status of the city side of that, but I know the amount that we were contributing has already been, if not budgeted and already paid, it's at least budgeted and sitting in an account waiting to be.
Yeah, and I seem to recall that we had a meeting here probably about 6 months ago, looking at trying to get a RFP or a scope put together.
Yeah, I know, and it's not the county's project, which is why I'm not up to speed on it. But I just was wondering why it was showing that way.
But yeah, no, it is available. We're happy to move forward, and I'll just circle back and touch base and see where we're at.
Sounds good. Mayor Case, if you're online, maybe we can have a conversation in the coming days or weeks about that, just to see if that's something that still wants to be pursued. So,
absolutely, Eric. I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Thanks.
I don't have an answer to that question right now, but I will certainly find out. So after I talk to Eric, we'll follow up.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, that takes us on to item 6D, Regional Grant Navigator Update. Oh, there she is, Karen Rowe. Okay.
Thank you for having me. My name is Karen Rowe, ROWE, and I am in the role of Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Regional Grant Navigator. And this is a very high level update. So if you have any super detailed questions, or if you want to meet separately, I'm happy to do that. So as a reminder, I started in March of this year. Jill Gabler had this position from March 2023 to October 2023, and then it was vacant for about 6 months. So this update really goes into what has been happening this year since I've come on board, with a little bit of what happened under Jill. During that 6 months that the position was empty, PPACG did provide some training for some of the local agency staff. Next slide. So here's the status for federal grants and the summary of the regional grant navigator role. Really, Colorado created these positions to secure a high level of federal grants from the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act. In order to do this, they created 13 regional grant navigators, local match assistants, and grant writing assistants around the state. So the good news is the program's been really successful. And originally the regional grant navigators were supposed to be in place for just 2 years, but they did extend it for a third year. So that'll start in March 2025 and go to March 2026. Next slide. So when Jill was here, Woodland Park did take on the role of applying for a grant for Safe Streets for All. That's that SS4A. And really what it is a planning grant. And since then, Colorado Springs have gotten a planning grant. Fountain has got a supplemental planning grant for that. And what we're trying to do with that planning grant is then get ready to prepare a safety action plan. So then you can apply for the grants that implement those safety projects. So that a consultant has been selected, and between Woodland Park and PPACG will be rolling that plan out soon. Since I've come on board, what we do is we track where I have assisted communities in some way, shape, or form with federal grants submitted, either myself or the state resources. So this is just a list of some of the grants submitted more recently. With federal grants, it takes a while to find out whether you're successful or not, so we don't have the results of any of these federal grants yet. Next slide, please. Ooh. Somehow my slide, let's see, there we go. So this is a summary. It's always changing of what I've documented and what Jill documented on what are the project needs. And really this is a marathon, not a sprint. That's why I am excited that the third year's been extended, because really you want to try to identify the grants you're going after before the notice of funding opportunity comes out. So this is just a rough estimate of how many projects I've identified for various communities that would be eligible for some of the federal grants. And some of them are state grants, and I meet with Todd Leopold also on a regular basis, so he's aware of these grants. And my next step is to be meeting with U.S. representatives and possibly senator staff to make sure they're aware of the various grants. There's also technical assistance programs that have been rolling out with these infrastructure acts, and I always encourage communities to sign up for those. So I know Cripple Creek has signed up for the water technical assistance. When we went after the Cripple Creek and Victor School District grant, they signed up for that grant technical assistance. So those technical assistance programs are really good. They have staff available to help with budget and scope and what grants to go after. I always say they're like me on steroids, like they're very educated on particular expertise, and they do have other resources available. Next slide. So what's next? And even some of these have changed since I've prepared this presentation. These are grants being prepared right now or being looked at as a possibility. For example, the City of Victor Raise grant, it went to our consultant and they reviewed it and said, you're not quite ready to submit it yet. So, but however, the Manitou Springs, they looked at it and said, yeah, we'll help you prepare that Raise grant for Rexton Road. So these are grants that are currently being pursued. One's due tomorrow, I think, for City of Fountain, and City of Victor submitting one too for a smaller grant. Safe Streets for All, we're working on that action plan, getting the consultants on board. I'm continuing to meet with communities that I haven't met with yet, but I'm also spending a lot of my time with the communities that have engaged with me to pursue various projects in the grants. The challenges. So as many of you know, it's the staff's time, right? Or staff turnover, that either contacting them and having them review the grant, having a review if they're ready for the grant, looking at the financial. So I try to screen as much of that out and let them know, hey, there's no match or a little bit of match or that kind of thing. So I met with City of Fountain, BJ yesterday. She's new with, Todd Evans. And so that was great. I spent about 2 hours and you also have a new program administrator, Bree, that, came to that. So that's been a challenge. And also in the next year, there's the new administration. So there may be changes in the grant requirements coming up. We'll have to see what grants come out again. The best grants are the ones that we know are coming and we know what the terms are. So it makes it easier to identify, okay, this was a need and it fits this grant that they put out last year. Let's look for it next year. So I'll need to stay on top of what the new federal administration requires for the federal grants and make sure we're compliant in those requests. So that's what I have right now. Again, it's very high level. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to see what I can answer. Yes.
Have you been able to talk to Alma at all?
Not yet, no.
Okay. I know they've got the issue with their wastewater treatment facility that they're going to need some money on. I'm not too sure about their water treatment and all that. So when you get a chance, Alma's difficult to talk to because they're a long ways and they're up in the clouds.
Yeah.
So if you could do that, I think that would really help them out.
Yeah, I will. And water seems to be one of the ongoing challenges to get funded. And
Yeah,
there's
well, that's
recognition in
they've
that.
got an old lagoon system that has been there forever, I think, and it's something that they've ended up on occasion just having to take water out of the river, put it through their system and back into the river so they could dilute it enough. So I think it's something that would help.
Okay, I'll do that. And I'm always happy to travel. So
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Knowing that a fair number of these actions kind of relate to water and so forth, just as an awareness, I also sit on the board of the Fountain Creek Watershed District. I'm the treasurer of that board and I'll be stepping down from that as well. But, they have been funded extensively and doing a lot of work in Fountain Creek from the Colorado Springs CSU. They got $50 million from them as part of the agreement with Pueblo and so forth. But those funds will not last forever, and they're trying to figure out how to survive and continue to do work. So one of the things that I had been suggesting to them is to get involved in the different municipalities and the different counties that have a piece of the Fountain Creek Watershed District, and maybe start doing water projects for those public agencies, become maybe the activity arm or the action arm for those public agencies, especially for the agencies that might not have resources to do that themselves. And this could be possibly a way for them to continue to do Fountain Creek Watershed District work. Why I bring this all up is I would recommend also reaching out to the Fountain Creek Watershed District Executive Director, Ollie Church, and see if there is a potential collaborative environment condition here where maybe they might be able to help with some grant writing. They would also have an interest in maybe being the recipient of those funds and then doing some of those water projects on behalf of the other public agencies. The public agencies could be the requirement owner and the monitor of that work to make sure that there's compliance and outcomes. But I just would, if there's stuff that are water projects, which you mentioned there several are, they might also be an additional resource, and they're looking for a way to keep doing their job as well. So I just offer that as a suggestion also.
And I'll just comment that I've been working extensively with Allie, and one of the grants that we submitted was for the Fountain Creek Watershed District for Jackson Creek erosion. And she's been reaching out to me to make sure we make that connection too with the agencies. So we're looking at replacing the bridge in Green Mountain Falls over Fountain Creek. So she sent me a study and shared it with them and the consultant preparing the grant. So, and we're just looking at another, because a lot of these grants are great for that watershed district. So
That's outstanding.
He's been pretty outstanding. I mean,
I'm
pretty
glad to
great
hear
to
you,
work with.
you've got that relationship. I just would recommend continuing to deepen that relationship. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to build their bridges, pun intended, up this way because the city of Fountain is a recipient of one of the only project done outside of Pueblo County. And they need to expand their horizons north very quickly. And there was a huge match from the city of Fountain, I think $600,000 into that project. So that, we figured it out, but because it actually, that project is being done because it's washed out a street, cutting a community in half in the city of Fountain. And unless something's done, the creek, you can't rebuild the road above it. So, yeah, Eric, Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Karen, I just texted with our county administrator. I know we've been struggling mightily because we've been trying to get you scheduled into a work session with commissioners.
Okay.
And it hasn't happened. Just because our schedules are crazy full. So anyway, I just had a little quick back and forth with him, and I think he's going to try to meet with you individually one-on-one, rather than trying to get you into a work session. At this point, we're already booked out into February. And it's discussions we need to have. Obviously, there's grants we're working on, but I think it'll also help you just to understand what our needs are and to be able to communicate that effectively. And then there might be stuff you're aware of that, of course, that we're not already chasing. So anyway, he'll be reaching out to you, he said. And
Okay,
feel free to
that's
reach
great.
back the other way and maybe you'll meet in the
Okay.
darkness.
Yeah, I reached out a few times and
I know you have, and I've seen.
I know you've just been too busy.
Yeah, we've been, and it's hopefully you guys will meet up soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yeah, I just want to say publicly, thank you for the help you've been and assistance you've been providing Green Mountain Falls. Without your help, we'd be dead in the water.
It's been wonderful. This is a great job. This is really fun.
Are we gonna get going on the puns today? Do we need that? All right. Any other questions or comments, especially from anybody online? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Karen, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay, and that takes us on to item 6E, board officers for 2025. Recommended slate by the nominating committee. Mr. Gunning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The nominating committee that was formed at your meeting last month met a couple of weeks ago and has recommended a slate of board officers for 2025. And you've got them on the screen there, but I will just read these off. No action required today. You're just basically accepting the recommendation from the nominating committee. Then you will vote on officers at your annual meeting in January 2025. But recommended for chair, Commissioner Holly Williams, first vice chair, Commissioner Eric Stone, second vice chair, Councilmember Michelle Tallarico, for treasurer, Mayor Kelly Case, and as secretary, Mayor Todd Dixon. So there you've got the lineup. You can always make other nominations if you saw the need on the floor before you vote next month, but otherwise this will be in front of you for action in January.
All right, and then item number 2 says the nominating committee will contact individual board members and anybody who put their name forward was contacted. So, so I think that's pretty much it. All right, thank you. We will take care of that in January. And that takes us on to item 7, other reports and minutes. CDOT monthly update.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. So active construction projects within PPACG currently. We've got US 285. I'm sorry, there's the other slide. Powers and Airport interchange. That's ongoing and probably a bit ahead of schedule currently. Next month or so includes major work to complete the center piers within Powers and the west abutment. The east abutment is complete already. Next week, before Christmas, they plan to do significant slab removal and patching with HMA, so asphalt, to temporarily address pavement deterioration on Powers, especially the northbound around the intersection. Later in the project, those areas will be replaced with concrete pavement slabs. So the project team is working to ensure coordination in the spring when Colorado Springs begins their project at the interchange of US 24 and Peterson roundabouts. So on to the next project, I-25, Fillmore to Garden of the Gods reconstruction. That's ongoing. US 85, the Carson T is fully operating, so they're wrapping up. I-25 resurfacing midway. Mile points 119 to 124 is wrapping up also. With new construction in 2024, the emergency repairs to the concrete box culvert southeast of Powers and Grinnell Boulevard is a winter project that's beginning, so the contractor has been selected. So that'll start construction very soon. Planned future construction for 2025, as we talked about, that's the Colorado 115 resurfacing from Nelson Boulevard to Brookside. So successful bid opening and the contractor has been selected. That'll start in the spring. Colorado 67D is the reconstruction about a half mile in Woodland Park. It'll be widening in that section. And that is going to be opening up bids on December 19th. So that's a re-advertisement of that project. So that gets us to the next slide, CFR. So active construction projects within CFR. We have the intersection and bridge at Colorado 9 and US 285, the whole full reconstruction. That's substantially complete, but there will be some final work to be completed in spring 2025. Colorado 9, Alma northbound and US 285 Grant westbound chain up stations. They're wrapping up. The pending issue is the lighting, so they just need good weather to finish that and get it operational. US 24G, the resurfacing east of Falcon to east of Peyton is wrapping up. US 50 resurfacing from Salida to Coaldale is also wrapping up and trying to fix some recent rock slide repairs. New construction in 2024 within CFR is the Canyon City Oil Creek Ditch Culvert Lining winter project, so that'll be kicking off soon. Planned future 2025 construction within CFR, get the US 24 resurfacing from Florissant through Divide.
AARP is the largest advocacy.
And that's bids on December 19th for that also. US 285 resurfacing through Bailey in Park County is the contractor has been selected for that. The bids came back. So we'll be moving forward. And the 105 pavement repairs at Palmer Lake. So initial paving has been completed. We're planning to do some another 2-inch paving on top of that as a cap to what's been paved. And then we'll monitor and see if there's any issues in the future. So I think that's it. I mean, that's pretty brief and very quick on that. So any questions or comments?
Any questions? But boy, a comment. I love that new green tea intersection. I've driven through it many times. Thank you. And that was an absolute 18 months. I think you guys did that from start to end. It was amazing. So
Good.
Thank you very much.
We'll pass it along. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I would like to make a comment. Thank you for all of the hard work you did at Fairplay. If you drive through that intersection now, you actually can go straight through in one lane and turn left out of the other, and there's 2 left turn lanes off of 9 onto 285. I'm not going to be in Fairplay to notice all the screw ups when it snows a lot, but I don't think they'll have nearly as many. You guys did a great job on that. It's good to see the 2 chain up stations. I know the electronics have been a little bit difficult on them getting all of the parts, but all of the lights are on the one now. They've got all of the lights set up on the Grant side, so that's great. And the other one's been good. And the 285 resurfacing, I don't know, you look at milepost 220 to 228, that's basically, I believe, from almost Pine Junction down through almost to Shawnee, which is a stretch of road that if you're on, it is badly beat up because the city of Denver is being built on gravel that comes out of Fairplay. And the road is not in very good shape. So I really appreciate that because that was going to actually be a 26, I believe, project that you managed to move forward to 25 by some swapping of money. And I really appreciate your efforts doing that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Does that mean that you, instead of driving around your meeting place 3 times to try to find out how to get in the building. I can actually get in the building now.
Yeah. You actually have turn lanes. You don't have to say, well, that road's closed today. So yeah, that is a whole lot better now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Could we go back one chart? So on the active construction projects with PPACG, the very first one, Powers Airport Interchange, I always get fooled by those words because I always think airport like the airport, not airport road. So whenever I see Powers Airport Interchange, I think it's the Powers Milton Proby Interchange. And I know it's a nit, but can we just put Airport Road on there instead of just airport so that there's no confusion? Because it is actually Powers and Airport Road, but it's actually the main entrance to Peterson Air Force Base.
Yeah, we can do that.
Thanks.
Kind of the same thing when people talk about Fountain and Academy. You have to stop. Oh, they're talking about Fountain Road, Drive, whatever it is, and not the city of Fountain. So yeah, I get it. Commissioner?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. On those 2 projects that impact Taylor County, the 67 North Woodland Park and Highway 24 resurfacing out to further than the county line. Both of them say re-advertised in November. Do you know what the status of possibly getting those contracted?
Yeah, so the first one's with the first advertisement on the US 24 resurfacing. That one we have not advertised before. And then the State Highway 67 reconstruction is the re-advertisement. But those both open up on December 19th. So we'll find out bids.
Okay, so they haven't opened yet.
They have not opened yet.
Okay, all right,
Nope.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
Madam Chair, you do have Mayor Case online with her hand
Oh,
raised.
thank you very much. Mayor Case.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to, with this reference to the 2 projects that Eric just mentioned, just wondering if there's a estimated construction period when you anticipate starting that and ending that, both of those.
Yeah, both of those have a floating start date in the spring, so they won't start immediately after if
So
they get
spring.
award. Yep, and
Thank
they're
you,
both planned for a 1-year construction, but they're, especially with 67, there's a chance it could end up being a little bit of re-veg and stuff in the following year if it finishes late.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments before we let him loose?
Madam Chair, now Mitch LeKind.
Oh, thank you, Mayor LaKine.
I'd like to first say thank you to CDOT for completing the roundabout at Baptist. Now that the snowstorms have not impacted the construction of it, it is working fabulously. No complaints so far. So great job. Also, I had almost a 9-hour drive home yesterday. And I took I-25 from, Raton all the way to Monument. And I have to say, I'm very impressed with the conditions of the entire segment of I-25 that I drove on. There was only maybe a small area that had a little bit of iciness to it, but you guys did an amazing job cleaning up the snow and the ice off the roads. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Thank you very much. I'll pass that along.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us on to Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee, otherwise known as STAT. Commissioner Williams.
This Commissioner Williams, STAT did not meet this month, so I don't have any dates. And then we'll meet again starting in January. And that's it.
All right, thank you. That takes us on to Front Range Passenger Rail Update. I believe that's Councilmember Crow Iverson.
Yes, good morning. We have our last meeting of the year on Friday with an executive session. And in that executive session, I'm expecting we will either choose or discuss the new general manager, as Andy Karzian is no longer with the Front Range Passenger Rail. We're still looking at what it would cost and options moving forward for a ballot initiative in 2026 with new directors being put on with this election. We're back to square one in those discussions. That's part of the political area that we're in. We have them come off and on all the time, so we're always catching up. And also, there's a couple bills that came down last year that we're discussing, hopefully having some lobby help to redirect some of that money. They're looking at some of the managed lane money that's all going to Front Ridge Passenger Rail. There's some people on the board that feel like, some that's been said here today, we still have to take care of our regular roads as well. So a lot of discussion on what those revised bills will do. At the Chamber Roundtable legislation meeting that we had last week, it came up a lot at the tables I was at too, with the almost $1 billion shortfall, 900 and some million dollar shortfall. I heard 100 million of that's going to be in transportation. So we're going to have a lot of discussion what that means for Front Range Passenger Rail moving forward as well. So I expect a lot of changes in 2025, but that's really all I have to update this morning.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your work on that board. Okay, that takes us on to committee and commission vacancies. Everybody has them in their packet. So look over your communities and see if there's a need in your area. And Andy, is there anyone that you want to highlight this month that you really need board members on?
Nothing jumps out at me. We'll dig into it and have a more fulsome discussion in January where we see some gaps, whether it's on the CAC or I know some of our technical committees have struggled, air quality and water quality. But thank you for the question and we'll chat about that further in January.
Yeah, one I always like to push is the mobility coordinating committee. They work a lot on specialized transit. So that is a need in every community. And it's not just for those over 60, it's for disabled people under the age of 60 that might qualify for it. And so I would really, if you have an opening in that in your community, maybe there's somebody in your area that is interested in that. So thank you very much. All right, that takes us on to Executive Director's Report.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. And we'll stick with that same theme. I've got a few things I just wanted to brief on just real briefly. And one of them was actually the Mobility Coordinating Committee. They had their awesome event last week where they recognized drivers across all the different organizations. They're nominated by folks within their organizations that should be recognized by the committee and by PPACG. And it's just a really great event to highlight some great volunteers and other workers that are providing transportation services for our seniors and people with disabilities across the region. Jotted down a handful of the organizations that had drivers recognized, included Silver Key, Envita, Fountain Valley Senior Center, the Teller Senior Coalition, Goodwill, MMT, and Mountain Metro Mobility as well. And just two anecdotes. I'm going to ask Gail to speak to one of them here in just a moment. But one of them, we heard and met Steve from Teller County, Teller Senior Coalition, where he's been driving a senior and their care dog, Gracie, to Fort Carson, down from Teller County on a regular basis to get some veterinary service for the dog and to have everybody sort of taken care of. And he is a retired colonel, retired preacher with the Air Force. He's got all the clearances that are needed to get on base. So he was kind of going above and beyond in that regard and just helping out the senior and their care dog, which was really, really pretty cool. I'm not going to steal Gail's thunder. They recognized a legendary driver with Envita who just recently retired and just wanted to ask Gail to say a couple of words.
Thank you, Gail Nels with Envita. And I just wanted to share with you the kind of people that serve our community. We had Tim Bloom, who'd been with us for almost 35 years, driving people in our community, the older adults and people with disabilities. So he started in 1990. And so we kind of estimated he drove 1.3 million miles. He probably served over like almost 700 to 1,000 people. I always thought he should have been on the short course or the Cliff Notes for anyone new to transportation in the area because he knew the people that we all serve. And I think you as members of this organization understand what community service is, and he truly was a public servant. And he was recognized from the county commissioners, and they even believe that Mr. Congressman-elect Jeff Crank might be talking with him as well. So we're just really proud that we have people in this community that serve us that well, and thank you for recognizing him.
I think they said last week he drove to the moon and back is 1.3 million miles, or maybe just to the moon. I forget how far it is.
Well, and I want to tell you that Fox 21 did an outstanding segment on him for like 3 minutes about what it looks like. So thank you.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Gail, you had a wonderful gathering for him. It was about a week ago.
A couple weeks ago, yes.
Yeah,
That was
time
really
really
good.
flies. And I had 35 years, and he also trained and educated a lot of the drivers that
Mhm.
since then, right?
Yes, he was our primary driver. We'd always wanted to see if he wanted to manage or teach. He just kept insisting, I just want to drive. And I really appreciate the a person that just really wanted to dedicate himself to others. He was just really phenomenal person, very humble. And just, you know, he wants to go fishing. That is his retirement goal. And so he
All right, you guys need
So
to
Dick-
exchange cell phone numbers, huh?
he's pretty good. He's from Michigan. He does, I mean, excuse me, Minnesota. He does a lot of fishing. But
That's
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for being there, Yolanda. It means a lot.
You're welcome.
And I think a lot of us, we talk a lot about community and getting seniors out of their homes. They have a community on the bus when they get picked up. My son is a client of Invitas and Fountain Valley Senior Center, and he just comes. He talks more about what the conversations are in the bus than he get out of him what he did at class that day. And so, thank you for your staff helping to create that community and that warming atmosphere when people get on the bus.
Thanks. It's a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Appreciate that, the quick tangent. But that's a great event. It's really the highlight of what the MCC does. They do a lot of really outstanding work, but the driver recognition is just really, really pretty cool. A couple other items real quick. Reminder, you should have this on your calendar, but we've got our legislative roundtable this coming Friday from 9 to 11 with our local state delegation members and our new lobbyists, Bowditch and Castle. So looking forward to that conversation this Friday. Shifting gears, Sherry, if you want to start working your way up this way as well, Sherry's going to say a few words about the artwork that we have around the conference room. But before she does that, I just want to mention as well, thanks to Sherry's efforts in getting us connected with the Gazette Places survey process, we were recognized last week as the best workplace at PPACG. So really super proud of that. It's a testament to our just amazing staff and support from the board, but it's a survey process and you're graded a little bit on a curve with other organizations within your size of organization. And just the survey results came back super strong. We've got a really engaged and just awesome staff here at PPACG. So glad that we were recognized with a bunch of other employers last week. Sherry, do you want to? I'm sorry?
Sherry, can we
The
add
Gazette?
that to Andy's list for his employee review next year that you got that award? They say what they've done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the Gazette does that each year, and they don't pick anybody. So we were really happy to be recognized. It was pretty cool.
Andy, we wouldn't have gotten that award 8 or 9 years ago. So hats off to you for making it a place where
We've
people want to work.
come a little ways.
Yeah, we have.
Sherry, you want to talk about the artwork?
Yes. So again, we have been continuing to partner with the Pikes Peak Art Council here in Colorado Springs. Our new artist is Christy Lorenzen. She does oils and water wash, which I'm possibly not pronouncing correctly. But you can see her artwork here in this room and also at the front lobby. She does also have a few pieces that you could just buy directly that are prints of her artwork. So we are excited to have her in our displays.
Very beautiful artwork as we look around the room. Take a couple minutes and go look at them. Everything from winter scenes to beach scenes to sunsets. It's just beautiful work. So thank you.
Yeah, really great display this month. And last item, just real briefly, and I know we'll do this further in January, but times we get lost in the shuffle as we pass the torch. But just wanted to thank you, Chair, for your great support and leadership over the past 2 years as running the board of directors here. You've just really done an incredible job. You've been very accessible and just dealing with some pretty, heavy issues. I mean, just looking at the agenda today, dealing with our long-range transportation plan and federal engagement on the Older Americans Act. I mean, that's the stuff that we really, really do. So just really appreciate your support and your steady leadership and accessibility. And it's been great working with you in this regard for the past 2 years. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Well, got the torch from good hands from Stan, and I'm passing it to good hands with Holly. So we have a great group of people here. Thank you. Alrighty, that takes us to member entity announcements. If y'all want to get out by 11, you better make it short. We have like 2 minutes. Yes.
Okay, so the town of Green Mountain Falls does have an open position for a town manager. We are planning on a special election dealing with revenues in November 2025. So right now it's only advertised as an interim for 1 year only.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. I don't mean that sarcastically, just need the right person. All right. Anybody else? Christmas stuff going on and New Year's stuff in your community? Holiday? Okay. Well, you guys really want to get out by 11. It is like 10:59 and we are done. All right. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you very much.